Berlin Court. I lived the last 13 years in Perrysburg, Michigan. I spent 7 years before that living in Oregon, Ohio. I don't know how many people are familiar here with the industrial wasteland that's in Oregon. And recently, maybe it's been about 7, 8 years, they wanted to put a coke plant in there. And we had environmental meetings, and at the time, I had already moved to Michigan to get away from that environment. And my kids kept saying, "Mom, why are you keep going back there? Why are you going door to door trying to get these people to stop this coke plant?" And I said, "We don't live there anymore, but our relatives do, our future generation does." I said, "They cannot keep doing what they're doing." The same is true of what they're doing with these nuclear power plants. I don't think that most people realize their nuclear waste dumps. I mean, they think they're a power plant. They don't even take into account where all that waste is going and how it's building up. The attitudes towards people as far as health issues, you know, it won't happen to me, or if it does, it's just an unfortunate thing that happens. You need to connect the dots, and maybe if you were 38 years old and diagnosed with cancer from an environment that is killing people, you would realize you have to do something beyond just as you've been doing, and dealing with it at some future point. Our generations cannot do this. I'm an oncology nurse, and I see the people that are affected by these environments, and I deal with them year after year, day after day. I've been out in Oregon for 22 years as an oncology nurse. I see the people that come from Oak Harbor, that come from Davis-Besse. It's heartbreaking to see a mother, 35 years old, with 3 small children dying. And people have to do something not only about the waste, but stop producing it. While you're worrying about what you're going to do with the waste, you're continuing to produce more and more and more. You need to realize that this is not a problem that you're just going to try to solve now. And the NRC needs to think not as a government agency that really you're for the people. You're supposed to be helping, just like the EPA is supposed to be helping and there for us instead of being there for big business.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. My name is William Thessling. I'd like to start by thanking the NRC for hosting this event. I am the Executive Director of the Energy from Thorium Foundation. We are a education and advocacy group. We're basically advocating for the development and licensure of advanced nuclear reactor designs, Generation 4 designs, specifically molten salt reactor designs that have enormous promise to deal with our energy issues in this country and to deal with even the spent fuel that we have today. Variations on the class of reactor designs referred to as molten salt reactors can consume as fuel the spent fuel of today's reactors, and thus eliminating the 300,000-year lifetime into something far, far shorter. These reactors produce a tiny fraction of the waste that we have today, and it is radiotoxic for far less time. 1% of the waste, 0.1% of the duration. These reactors are far safer. They cannot melt down. They are, in fact, already molten, so they cannot undergo that phase change. And they are very promising. A great deal of work was done on these reactor designs back in the 1960s at Oak Ridge National Labs. These reactor designs, for political reasons, were the research and development in that line of design stopped. It has not been picked up since. We'd like to see that happen. We are advocating for the advanced research and development of molten salt reactors We see them as a way to use not uranium but thorium as a fuel source that can last literally billions of years as an energy source for the country and the world, and raise up all 7 billion people on planet Earth to a Western-style standard of living and increase that standard of living. That is the positive side that nuclear energy has to offer, and I think needs to be considered. We also have to weigh it against the negative. Let's address the negative. The ability to address our problems is part of the American tradition. If we looked at the electronics industry over 40 years ago, it would be unrecognizable relative to today. You look at the nuclear industry, it is stagnated relative to today. There's technology out there that can be developed that can address all these problems. Let's look at this as a scientific project. Let's undertake it, and let's change the world for the better. I ask you to inform yourself. You can learn more at energyfromthorium.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name is Kelly Ferris. My wife and I live at Put-in Bay, Ohio, an island in the western end of Lake Erie. We raised 4 children on the island, which is located just outside the 10-mile evacuation zone for the Davis-Besse nuclear power plant. According to the NRC, Davis-Besse has been the source of 2 of the top 5 most dangerous nuclear incidents in the United States since 1979. When I read in the Toledo Blade that the NRC is asking the public what to do about spent nuclear waste, I laughed out loud. Perhaps we should be flattered who are being asked what our opinion is. We're not flattered, we're angry. Is this akin to NASA asking the public the best way to get astronauts back safely from a space mission? Shouldn't this problem have been figured out before the first plant was ever built? I attended a number of meetings prior to the construction of the Davis-Besse nuclear power plant. During these meetings, 2 things were stressed. Nuclear power is safe, and electricity from nuclear power will be cheap. So cheap, in fact, one expert said that electric meters will become a thing of the past and residents will be just charged a flat rate. They were wrong on both points. Nuclear power is not cheap, and nuclear power is not safe. And when it is not safe, it is catastrophically unsafe. Let us ask the people in Chernobyl, Russia, who may not be able to return to their homes for 20,000 years. The people of Fukushima, Japan, 3 Mile Island, and how close were the residents in northern Ohio to a catastrophic disaster in 2002 when a corrosive hole was found in a Davis-Besse nuclear plant reactor. The list could go on and on. A former Prime Minister of Japan has called for the end of all nuclear power generation in Japan. There's nothing more costly than nuclear power, he said. In Germany, all nuclear power plants will be shut down by 2022. And now this gets us to the problem. It appears that the $30 billion invested by the nuclear power industry to set up Yakima Mountain in Nevada is off the table. But I guess the nuclear power industry didn't really pay for it because the public paid for it with increased electric rates. Apparently it is not an NRC problem, but a public problem now. What to do with spent nuclear waste? I'm appalled by this news. Where are the experts in this situation? Are there not people who knew what to do with spent nuclear waste? Our lives, our environment, our world was entrusted to you, the nuclear industry, over the protest of those who worried about such matters 40 years ago. How long do we have to figure it out? 40 years? Has not been long enough for the experts, and now it is in our backyard, literally. So here's my solution. You want our input? Close down all nuclear power plants, place all radioactive waste in the reactor building, and cover it with tons and tons of concrete, as was done in Chernobyl, and hope for the best over the next 20,000 years.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Shut down all the nuclear power plants. What's going to happen then? What's happening in Germany? Germany, now they have to buy a lot of their electricity. It's made by coal-fired power plants. What's in coal? It's got radioactive isotopes. It's being put all in the air, all across the world. That's a problem. That's what causes cancer, causes diseases, causes all kinds of problems when you do things like that. You have people that get cancer because of what the air is contaminated with. When you look at how many people does nuclear power plants save? Has anybody ever considered that? How many medical diagnostic tests are run every year that help save people's lives, that tell us what's on the inside of you, that comes from isotopes created from a nuclear power plant? China has the world's worst coal pollution. Look at their longevity after birth. They're living longer because they have power, because they're prosperous and they can afford better health care. That's what nuclear energy brings to us. I myself have been affected very horrendously because of nuclear energy. Not in very negative terms, but not because of nuclear energy, because there was not a certain type of reactor that would produce a certain type of isotope that would keep my fiancée from dying of brain cancer. Sentence her to death. That's what happens when you go against nuclear energy. Does it have problems? Yes. Are they overcome? Can they be overcome? Yes, they can be overcome. There are new technologies. We are not the old world. We are not the flat earth society. Americans can overcome. Americans do have ingenuity. We can do it if we're allowed to do it. There should not be something that's very negative. I've heard no, I've heard no, I've heard no tonight. Americans are, yes, we can, and we can solve this problem. And I think that we should be able to apply ourselves and we should be allowed to fix the problem. That's all.
Thank you.
I guess the first thing I got to talk about is a long time ago when I was like 18 or so, my grandfather told me, he said, you know, if you ever stand up before a commission, stand up before a city council, some type of hearing or something like that, or even before a judge, says the decision is already probably made. And you know, I tried to prove him a liar for many, many years. It's been a long time, and what I found is that he was right. So right now, as far as the agency here, I'm asking you to prove him a liar. You know, I can think about 50 years ago, how happy a room like this would have been when they were announcing they're going to build Davis-Betsy. Electricity was going to be free, jobs would be abound everywhere on all different levels of the community. And you know, it was, I can see there was probably a lot of rejoicing on that, and a lot of people got hired, the plant got made, electricity was sold, and then we started having our problems on it. So, as far as what everybody spoke out here tonight, is I pretty much agree with almost every single speaker that was here. There is some benefit in nuclear energy, like as far as like in the medical field, and then there's and then on top of that, it is probably the most dangerous type of energy we could ever take on. I mean, when you get down to it, there's no safe way to mine it. I know that from New Mexico, because that's where I'm from. The Navajos got sick. There's no way to mill it. I know that from my wife, because she worked at the uranium mines in Grants, New Mexico, and she ended up with thyroid disease. There's no way to enrich it because people over there in Piketon, they're all sick. No way to be able to use it for energy because of all the people that, just the safety and the incidents that have happened, which we're talking about, is Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, and all the other places where people have been affected. And that's not just with nuclear plants. It's with where they enrich it and the mines, everything that they're doing. Which turns out, like in Grants, New Mexico, and Piketon, the biggest industry there right now is the healthcare industry. And to have an industry that compensates people that work in the industry is like insane. I mean, they're getting sick and they're compensating, they're saying it's safe. So how could it be that way? As far as jobs, decommission these plants, every single one in the United States, you'll have more jobs than you could possibly think of. First off, decommissioning would probably take 10 years, maybe 20 years to get rid of the plants. On top of that is that then we'd have to move into robotics because it's not safe to deal with. It'd bring in a whole other industry. The community colleges would flourish in the neighborhoods there. And the universities would go into the research of robotics in order to decommission these facilities. So really, the happy face on nuclear industry, on the nuclear industry, the happy face is the happy face is energy. Really, you know, this fuel goes into weapons. Yes. And that's what's fueling the whole industry. If I had $500 million in order to be able to, or $1 billion like it is, it's not $500 billion. When you take the health aspects on it, it's trillions of dollars. We can throw that into something that's safe, and you know what? You're right, we are Americans. And yes, we can come up with better ideas. But there's a lot of other alternatives we can take as far as producing energy. So I want to thank you for letting me speak before you.
Ernest, talk to us.
Okay, 2 or 3 basic points. One relating to, well, let's just start with the top issue is Citizens United really is what we really have to mobilize behind. That is where the people got cut off from administrative policy in our government. And if we can do that and turn that around and then really mobilize behind it, then we have a chance of helping straighten out Congress and the judicial system and the environmental movements. But we have to do that. That's a major power point. In regarding to alternatives, which is other major area that needs to be developed, as everyone here knows, the major corporations have squelched alternatives. And there are alternatives besides wind. Solar, Germany is really powerful in solar, and hopefully that really will grow. That's a wonderful, passive, peaceful way to generate electricity. But it depends on sunlight. Tesla drove across the U.S. In a Packard, I believe, about 70 miles an hour. Only had to stop every 500 miles to change an electrode. Well, it's like a zinc, piece of zinc to put in a battery generation unit, electric motor sitting up in front. That appears to be a reliable report. Okay, but between Tesla and Schauerberger, Victor Schauerberger, I believe it's S-C-H-O-E, maybe an N, B-E-R-G-E-R, but there's somebody in northern Michigan who developed a turbine. It's a turbine system, and it is wonderful. Once you get it moving, it self-propels itself. And that's usable in transportation, but that's not his interest. He designed a unit to replace a coal-generated electricity plant. And those plants in there, I tried to find an internet, this is like 10 years ago, when I was really into this stuff, and then I kind of got whacked to radionics. I'm starting to come out of it. Okay, there is advanced technology, and that's just more than one level. But in any case, the Schauerberger turbines with Tesla does replace the coal power plant. What I want to get back, Tom Bearden, retired military, designed a laser that was accurate at 10,000 miles, developed, invented, got the first U.S. patent on MEG, M-E-G, look it up. Even with just M-E-G, I think you can find his website, it's really thick. But it's a motionless electromagnetic generator. About 3 of these little boxes just sit in your house and it powers it, and it's not on anybody's grid, which is, I think, is why I had difficulty trying to develop it outside the U.S. Couldn't do it here, but he needs money. But nevertheless, that kind of technology exists. Where Bearden is important is, in my mind, he says that contemporary physics at the university level are based on false mathematics regarding electricity. It cuts out, it factors out what is required to make free energy devices. It factors it out, and they just use the straight circuits that we have now. But he points out our existing circuits involve free energy. You just need the mass that accommodates that, and from that, then you understand how these systems...
Thanks for everyone who stayed to the end of the meeting tonight, and thanks for those folks who have traveled considerable distance to be with us tonight to share your views. We really appreciate your participation. Have a safe evening. Thank you.